the name Westwood is such a great name. In Western Canada, the first purpose-built road racing circuit in Canada, in the West, in the woods. Pisses off the Easterners, I'll tell you. Earl Westwood. He was a funeral director from Nanaimo, who became the mayor of Nanaimo, and who later became the minister in the W.A.C. Bennett cabinet, Minister of Conservation and Recreation. And Westwood was built on Crown land, and he helped them get the lease. And he was a car guy. The sod turning ceremony in, I think it was October or November of 1958, and it was, of course, quite a bit of snow up there at that time. Now when you go up there, it's a golf course, you have that exact same view of the Fraser Valley, except it's all full of buildings now. You can stand up there, and the valley is clear, the sun's shining, and the rain's pouring down. Can you imagine doing this today? Burning all those trees and getting away with it? Except for the paving and the heavy earth moving, was all done by volunteers. Jim Lee, who was the president of the sports car club in the early days, just died about a year ago. He was, of course, this is over 50 years ago when this film was made. That's the back straight heading down to Deer's Leap, I think. Or is it? Maybe it isn't. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. This is the big bank corner, turn 1. And when they're paving it, the paving machine fell over on its side. See how steep the banking is up there? And put a big dent in the road bed that was there for the whole 32 years. Opening day, 26th of July, 1959. And it looks like they had a parade of all the cars that were racing, led by that Rolls Royce. The big tall guy is Jimmy Christmas, the Reeve of Coquitlam at the time, and the guy who's speaking is a provincial cabinet minister, not Earl Westwood, but another one. And I think that's Ron Curtis, who is helping to organize this reunion in July. The legend is that they had a bigger crowd on opening day than they ever had at any race ever again afterwards. And it sure looks like it in those pictures. They're hanging from the rafters there. But nobody knows exactly how many it was, because there's no process to count them. I don't think they could charge in those days under the blue laws. So it isn't, you just take how much money you got and divide it by the ticket. There's actually several heats, different races run on the same day. That would be probably the main race of the day. That's a Ferrari V12 front engine Ferrari Testarossa. If you had one, the car still exists actually. And that car there is what they call a Pooper, which is a Cooper with a Porsche engine. And that's a D-type Jaguar. All those cars still exist. MGAs. Look at the roll bar, and there's just a post with a T on the end of it. First of all, there was lots of motor racing in North America before World War II, but it was mostly done on oval tracks, mostly tracks that were originally built for horse racing. That's back straight and then approaching what they used to call Deer Sweep, which was quite a steep hill. Actually, it was 75 feet high. And then that coming down on the other side, going down to a hairpin turn. When the war's over, MGs and stuff started to turn up, mostly British stuff, exporting everything they could make. So all those MGs and Austin Healey's and Jaguars all came to North America. So that started what we now call sports car or road racing. There was a guy really badly injured in a crash the day before the first race in Los Estes. Westwood was one of the last circuits in the world to have the diesel mounted starts. Starter stand sitting there. I mean, if somebody ran into that, it would be a mess, especially if the starter was standing on it at the time. And there's obviously a wet start. Used to call it Westwood. The funny thing about Westwood was, as I said, it always rained. I mean, there was probably times it didn't rain, but it seemed like it was always raining. And now they built a golf club, and it always rains on the golf course, but you can stand up there and the valley is clear, the sun's shining and the rain's pouring down. And we used to stand up in the paddock and say, I think it's clearing, but it never did. See the TV cameras, they have a nationally televised race at Westwood, just a club race, like this, live across the country. And actually people used to race those Volvos in the day. Right. And you see the odd one in the vintage races nowadays. Well, sometimes when you're racing in somebody else's territory, they have assigned numbers, and somebody else may have the number you want, and you have to use a different number. Mm-hmm. That corner is still up there, although not paved. It's covered with grass, and it surrounds the green of the 18th hole of the golf course. this is an airport circuit someplace where they used to race on the old airport, so that could be, I don't know, there's 2 or 3 of them in Washington State. They all look kind of the same, you know, fir trees and big flat open areas.
He loved people, he respected people, he respected his fans, and people just loved him. And he would answer every letter that came for him, just every letter, no matter what it was about. He had kids writing him, how could they be a race driver like him? He was more competitive with himself than the other drivers.
The turn workers refueling in the pits, spilling gas. Oh, what's going on here now? 6 or 7 different tracks that those guys used to race at around in California, BC, and Washington, Oregon.
First of all, he was doing a fair amount of traveling, so that brought BC to the fore. He went to California frequently. He went to Oregon. Now, more than one Canadian went to Oregon and to Seattle, and he went to Spokane. Others did that as well. But he did more traveling. He was known in the East where the others weren't. He brought the championship west, which has never been done before or since. What set him apart as far as his record of racing goes, it's just because he went out and did, and he did it well.
That's his car. Came from England, yeah. They didn't buy it new. It had some very little use.
Just leave the crew with the car. But there was always like press or something like that to deal with first. He just had a real romance going on with the press. I mean, it just went both ways. That said, hey, BC exists. And it does more than rain. It makes race drivers sometimes, even if they're transplants, which he was. Oh, I went to all the races. Can't think of any I would miss at Westwood. I took his helmet when he was finished racing. That was our communication time, because we found we didn't have time to communicate at the track. And I was finding that rather difficult. So we talked it over and we found a way for us to communicate, and we would go off by ourselves.
There's the 101. That's Westwood. You can tell by the bank in the background. This was the car he won the 1965 Canadian Driving Championship with. And the reason he was able to win it with the relatively small engine car was because they had 2 classes, under and over 2-liter engine capacity. And this one is 1600 cc, so it'd be under. But they scored them with equal points. In other words, the guy who won the under 2-liter class got the same number of points as the guy that won the overall 2-liter class. Over 2-liter cars were much faster. But that doesn't mean they're better driven. There is Deer's Leap at Westwood, called Deer's Leap because deers did leap across there. Two different people were killed by hitting deer. And in the original track plan, it was called Deer Leap, like singular. And then over time it became Deer's Leap, like plural. And then it became Deer's apostrophe S. That's which I guess I said in the book. I think that's when the sports car club just gave up and figured that Deer owned it. And they used to have special deer warning lights and stuff. One time they, in absolutely total violation of all hunting laws. They got some archers in there and cleaned the place out. And everybody in the sports truck club was eating venison for the next year.